Another blitz. Hurts takes it right up the gut. Touchdown Eagles. Here's the deep ball. Got hit as he let it go. Oh, Devontae Smith. What a catch. From 54 for the win. On the way. It is there. And the Eagles remain unbeaten.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the Flyin Style podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Mitchell, back with my co-host, the one and only Steven Maslij.
What's up, Matt? How you doing on this fine afternoon?
Doing very well after quite an exhilarating win from our birds this past weekend. The Eagles beat the Bengals in prime fashion, beating them 37-17. It was a big win that all the Eagles fans have been praying for, asking for, and really feels like the Eagles flipped a leaf on this game. So, and let's just jump right into it, and let's hear your initial thoughts on what you thought about the game.
Dude, both sides of the ball played fantastic in this game. We finally had a rhythm of establishing the run. We went under center. We threw slant passes. We threw the deep ball when necessary. Hurts played very efficiently. No turnovers. I can't ask for anything better other than a couple more sacks. But other than that, and that's very nitpicky, great plays all around from our young guys. Dude, Cooper and Mitchell look fantastic out there on one of the best receivers in the league. It started off a little bit like, wow, all right, they're just going to go down on us to have almost a 10-minute drive on us to start. But we answer right back. And I'm just very happy, man. I can't you can't complain about this type of game when you guys, I mean, yeah, we go the half 10-10, but we look just so crisp and good out there. It made me happy. Finally to see, like, oh, this offense is able to do what we've been saying the entire time. I know we're just guys on the couch, but come on, like, it's like everything worked. Like, finally you guys saw it can work.
We love a happy Maz over here.
Dude, it's amazing. I mean, Saquon, 22 rushes, 108 yards. Hurts, 16 for 20 with 236 yards passing. Just so efficient. I mean, he had 3 touchdowns. He had tush push, blah, blah, blah. The Devonta catch on the big pass to AJ on the 3rd and 16. It just, everything in this game went right. And finally, I know the Bengals haven't been the best team in the league this year, but finally it gave a little bit of confidence against a top tier type quarterback where I think we can finally get the season like rolling. And it felt good.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this was a Bengals team that's obviously been struggling this year, but also a Bengals team that is usually in the upper echelon of the league and has played well, even in their losses this year, have put up big numbers and big points. So it was really huge to see the defense step up and prevent them from scoring a lot of points and doing what they had to get to Joe Burrow, keep him uncomfortable, and make sure the game plan went according to plan. And like you said, I think 2 of the biggest key pieces were obviously our 2 rookies, Quinyon and Cooper DeJean, who have been showing flying colors through all their starts so far. Obviously, Cooper with a smaller sample size than Quinyon has had, but Quinyon has been locking down number 1 receivers pretty much all year. He had two games. I forget who it was against. I'd have to look at the stat list again. He had 2 games where his biggest let up was 70 yards throughout the game. And that's really not that crazy considering, going against every team's number 1 every game. And Cooper DeJean has just been an absolute Swiss Army knife, doing whatever the team asks of him, whether it's rushing the passer, whether it's getting back in coverage in the slot or on the outside. He's just been doing what he needs to do. And that 4th down stop that he had where he was man-on-man with Jamar Chase was absolutely a thrilling thing to see for Eagles fans and gets us excited about the future. I mean, I think Howie really hit the button on these 2 picks, and they're going to be 2 of our key pieces on defense for a long time to come. So that was really nice to see. And like you said, on the offensive side of the ball, it was incredible to watch them have rhythm for the first time and see them do things differently than they've been doing in the first few games where it looked like they didn't have an identity and it looked like they didn't have that rhythm. And seeing them run the ball under center, using a fullback formation, using the short passes and letting their guys make the plays that they need to, and then throwing the occasional, surprise deep ball that can make that big play splash and not trying to force that play. It's definitely been awesome to see for everybody. And it's been especially awesome to see Jalen take better care of the ball and really look like back to his 2022 form where he was taking care of the ball, making sharp decisions, quick decisions, and just really feeling comfortable in that offense. It looks like he's finally growing into that comfortability with the team, and I'm really excited. It's been a roller coaster through watching, 10-1 last year to ending 11-6 to starting this year 2-2, but it was a rough 2-2, and then the past 3 games we've really been starting to take off and catch our stride, and it seems like we're starting to come back to that life that we saw in 2022 when we went to a Super Bowl. What do you think about this team moving forward? Do you think that they're going to be able to keep up this pace? Do you think that they're going to hit hiccups? Do you think that they're a Super Bowl contender yet?
Dude, just looking at the schedule right now, our schedule's not that hard. I know Washington has been playing very well. They've just been a team on a mission this year. They've been getting lucky. They've been getting, you can call it whatever you want, but that Hail Mary pass was crazy, by the way. That Bears. If CJ did that, I could see CJ doing that, celebrating, taunting fans, and letting up that touchdown. I would freak out. But
that's something that would absolutely happen to
dude,
CJ.
you know what I mean? You can see him in the away stadium. But regardless of that, dude, we are a top echelon team. I know all these 3 wins have been against teams with losing records at the current moment in time, but just the way that we looked the last 3 games, especially the last 2. Obviously the Giants were just running the ball down their throats, and using Saquon efficiently and using the run to open up the pass has really just kind of made me buy back into this team. Not that I was ever out on it, but dude, it just looks.
It's something that we've been asking for weeks, and I understand that we are guys just sitting on our couch watching the game, but it is really difficult to understand how every fan in Philadelphia could be asking for the same thing and seeing the same thing that the coaches were not for a certain period of time. And it really does feel like they're starting to hear the critiques, understand what their weaknesses are, what their strengths are, and starting to play to the strengths and away from the weaknesses. And it's really nice to see that they're finally making adjustments. And I think it's unfair to say that they weren't making adjustments early on, because we've talked about on this podcast that each week there was a set list of things to be angry about. And then the next week it would seem like they would adjust to try to fix those things, but it would kind of shuffle other things into a bad spot. And, it was kind of just a shuffle to figure out putting all the pieces together and making everything work, tangibly. But it does feel like they're starting to find that full puzzle piece and, put everything together. And it really does feel like a well-oiled offense right now. And especially on the defensive side of the ball, I've been really impressed by the play calling, and I like what Vic Fangio has been doing over there. Not to mention the aggressiveness of it is something that we've been asking for a long time, and moving away from that conservative defense that just lets up passes and big yards and whatnot. It was definitely weird watching the first half of the game, especially that first drive when they, drove right down the field on us. And I know some fans had mixed feelings about that and felt like watching that, they were like, oh, geez, this is going to be a long game. To me, honestly, I really felt like that was almost an amazing drive by our defense. The amount of third downs they put them in on that drive was ridiculous. And it was driving me crazy that they were playing 75 to 80% of the snaps incredibly well. And then it was just that little clip that they just, on third downs, that they just kept letting up the big plays on third downs. And it was definitely weird to see, because they were playing well, but they were also kind of getting their butts kicked for a little bit. But at no point in this game did I feel like we weren't in control. And at no point in this game was I worried about us taking over and doing what we needed to, because we were playing with rhythm the entire time on both sides of the ball.
No, absolutely. And who do you give credit to on that? Do you give Nick more credit? You give Kellen more? I know a lot of people were obviously criticizing Nick right before the bye week, saying fire him, this and that. Obviously that was just those fans that majority of Philly fans, if you want to say, overreact a lot to these adjustments that we have made in these games. Who do you give credit to, and why do you give credit to someone, or is it just all the coaching staff and the players, obviously, too?
Yeah, I think you got to give credit to everybody. I obviously, Nick Sirianni is the head coach, and he has say in just about everything that goes on, whether it's the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball. I don't know if you heard the quote from LaShawn McCoy talking this week, talking about how he has guys in the building and he talks to people about the offense often. And anyone trying to say that Sirianni isn't involved in the offense is crazy. Obviously, he's heavily involved in the offense, and that's what LaShawn McCoy said. So obviously, Nick is very heavily involved in the offense still, and the scheming and the play calling. And I think the difference is that we're seeing, I don't know what the right word is for it. It seems like they're working together better than they were before. Beforehand, from a player standpoint, coach standpoint, to head coach to coordinator, it felt like everybody was doing their own thing and trying to implement their own thing with nothing meshing together. Now it feels like everybody's kind of bought into this idea of going after this championship and being a good team, and really has let everything mesh together, and they're working to everybody's strengths. I feel like you're starting to see more of that Kellen Moore offense that we heard about in the preseason, more of the motioning, more of the under center play, more of the short passing game and running, throwing out of the backfield, but also still seeing, hints of Nick Sirianni's offense before, and really kind of just putting that all together into one big game plan rather than seeing it go back and forth between the two with no, cohesiveness to it. So I think you got to give it to everybody. I think that Nick Sirianni is definitely doing a good job of rallying these guys and getting them together. And I don't know if you heard his, speech to the team in the team meeting this week as well, but I listened to it and I felt like he said a lot of really good things in there. And it does seem like the players really do buy into what Sirianni has to say and buy into his energy that he puts out there. And he really is a good rally guy for the team. And I think that everybody's kind of just starting to buy in. I think that we were still a little bit thrown off by what happened last year with all the finger pointing and the blaming, and there was no tangibility to this team. It feels like we're finally starting to push past that point, which stretched into this year for sure.
Definitely.
And we're finally starting to become a team again, and it feels like the guys are really starting to become cohesive in that.
No, absolutely. And I will definitely say that I will give Nick Sirianni all the credit for throwing that stupid screen pass to Devonta Smith that we have to get out of our playbook. So anytime they call that, I'm blaming Nick Sirianni for the record.
That's fair. I think we're all sick of the screen passes because we've never been in all the time that Sirianni has been a coach, I've never seen a successful screen pass.
Dude,
so
you're gonna get that bad kid. Like I know as Devonta walks out on the field, he winces a little bit. Goes, all right, how hard am I gonna get hit here? Like he lined up in the slot and he's like, you have to go out. Like, what do you? Like, you guys can't run a screen pass.
Do an end around. Do an end around.
I'm trying to nitpick. Like, I just get it out of our playbook.
Yeah, get the screen passes out. Do a shuffle pass. Do a reverse.
Just like a Saquon. Like
an end around. Anything else other than the screen passes, I don't want to see them anymore. And if you're gonna run screen passes, stop running wide receiver screens. Do a running back screen. Just do a quick halfback slip screen. Anything is better than those screen passes.
They're awful. But regardless, I mean, I really don't have much to say bad about this week at all. We're going into a game that got flexed out of the Sunday night spot, coming as our old coach and Mr. Doug Peterson coming back to town. Jaguars haven't been that great this year. Do you think we keep this train rolling? Do you think we just keep rolling how we've been, or do you think there's any like, oh, we're high and mighty now, or any of that?
Well, obviously, we've had a bit of a back and forth season, so I do think that it's hard not to still have some concern there because we've seen the good and we've seen the bad, and I think it's still too early to just fully identify it and say we're past that and we are just that elite team. I feel like I do still need to see more of it. Obviously, I've never been off board or had a question in whether we are going to be able to reach that potential, as we've talked about on the podcast with how talented these guys are. They could get to week 14 of the season playing bad, and then we could see 3 weeks of that football that we've wanted to see all year, because this team, they're capable of it. They have that talent in place. All it takes is buying into it and becoming one team together. And it does feel like it's starting to come to fruition, and especially in a game against a team like the Jaguars, who have been struggling this year. And their defense is one of the worst in the league, if not the worst. It should continue through this week, and it should continue moving forward, especially, when you have a multiple stretch of games where you're playing this way. It does build confidence on the team, and I think that this team feeds off of that confidence for sure. But at the same time, this is an offense that tends to put up a lot of points despite being really bad. So, not to mention that this is a Doug Peterson comeback game. He does understand how the Eagles operate. He probably has a little insider knowledge on that. So I do feel that it has trap game potential, but at the same time, I can't say that I'm particularly worried about it because from what I've seen the past few weeks, especially the defensive side of the ball, I feel like they've really come to life. Even if the offense were to kind of take a step back and underperform, it seems like the defense has really been coming into their own. And everybody's been starting to step up their game, including the edge rushers in Nolan Smith and Bryce Young and Josh Sweat. You're starting to see those guys start to come to life, and it's not just Jalen Carter getting into the backfield anymore. So I do think that this should be a very, very winnable game. I don't want to say easily winnable because I really thoroughly believe there's no such thing in the NFL unless we're talking about the Giants. And even then, that's just for fun. Obviously, even then, I'm still worried about it because that's a divisional game. But I do think that this is a game that should be won, and I do feel that we are more than capable of doing that.
And a team that is easily winnable is also the Panthers. But that's for another week that we're going to play later. But
hey, man, I've seen a game where the Panthers put up 40 points this year. You never know. You just never.
You said
know.
You've seen a game.
I said a game, but that game could be against us for all I know. It
is any given Sunday.
The NFL is the NFL.
It does seem like I am I never wish injury upon anyone. Because we both love Brian Thomas as much. It seems like he's not gonna be able to play this week. It seemed like for us that Goddard's not gonna be able to go and Slade's not gonna be able to go. What are you concerned at all about like Slay not being able to play or Goddard? Like I know Calcaterra has been doing a great job and Stoll has been working his way in. What concerns do you have going into this game? I mean, it's if any, like I love that Brian Thomas is in there because I think he's a great receiver. But what concerns do you have going into this game and based off the matchup?
Not much. I can admit, not much. This is a team that doesn't have a lot of studs on any side of the ball. They have a lot of B grade guys, not a lot of A+ guys over there. It's a team full of good players, but no great players, if that makes sense. And honestly, I want to say this with the most respect that I possibly can because I do respect everything that Slay has done for us over his time as a Philadelphia Eagle, and I do think that he's still capable of being good. But I don't think I truthfully think that having the young guys in is better. I truly do. I liked what I saw from Isaiah Rodgers last week. That heads-up interception tip-off by him was an incredible play.
Perfect coverage.
We're seeing great coverage out of both DeJean and Mitchell, like we talked about already. And I'm kind of just starting to feel like it's, Darius Slay's a little long in the tooth. He gets banged up. And it feels like these young cats can just keep up a little easier. And I think that Slay's time is starting to dwindle down, unfortunately. And I have a lot of respect for Slay, and I've never been a Slay hater. I know that he's had his fair share of mixed reviews over the years. Slay's always been a great player for us, and he's always been a great leader. And despite his comments earlier in the season, I think that he also understands that he's coming to the end here, and he doesn't quite want to admit it yet.
Yeah, Slay is definitely a big ego guy, and I don't like his ego as much. And I talked about it before, his whole vote for me to go to the Pro Bowl stuff when our team is literally getting demolished every week. I was not a big fan of that. Going in this game, though, Mike Gesicki was pretty good against us against the Bengals. The Jaguars have Evan Ingram and Brenton Strange, who have been two go-to like wide receivers or two tight end like passing receivers for Trevor Lawrence. I'm not necessarily concerned, but the matchup was on any of our linebackers are slightly smaller. I think that's the only thing that scares me a little bit. I'm not really too afraid of Christian Kirk. I probably will eat my words
Christian
on that
Kirk's
one.
out.
Is he out?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I think he's out for the season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, you're right. Wow. Yeah. Okay, well, he's out. You got – they are going to get – I think Travis is going to be back this week and Gabe Davis. But other than that, I think the two tight ends are going to be the only ones out there that I'm kind of nervous about just matchup-wise. Trevor's been playing a little bit better. They had that game in Green Bay came down to the wire for them. Yeah, I'm with you, dude. It's not going to be easy win by any means, but I don't see how we just – if we play like last week, just if it ain't broke, don't fix it type mentality.
Exactly.
I'm waiting for this team. The scared of me about the Eagles fan in me wants to say, I'm waiting for them just to go back to the BS that we saw before and not being just trying to be smarter than what they see that works. I'm just scared about that. Do you have any concerns at all about that, of them going away from the game plan, that a script that absolutely demolished the Bengals?
Well, it's obviously hard not to have in the back of your mind after watching a team that went 10-1 last year just fall apart and not fix it. Obviously, somewhere in the back of my head, I have to be thinking that it's a possibility, but by all means, I don't think that it's going to happen. I think that was kind of a once in a lifetime situation that really doesn't happen. You've never seen it on another team. You've never seen that happen ever, maybe in the NFL, to go from 10-1 to that bad and just not figure out the problem. So, I mean, I think we'll obviously have our moments. We're not going to, I doubt we're just going to be perfect the rest of the year. But when you have Saquon Barkley running for 100 yards and he's not even having a particularly stellar game, he's just picking up little chunks here and there and still putting up 100 yards. And that doesn't even go along with what you're getting out of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith or Kenny Gainwell, for that matter, who also put up pretty good yards. You've got too much production going on for it to just fall apart, I feel, as long as they continue the game plan that they have and make people play to them, not play to their opponent. I said that a little bit weird, but you get what I'm saying.
I understand what you meant, but
so I do think that I don't exactly think that there's any particular reason to believe they'll, regress, but I do think that. No, that's it. That's it. That's it.
I don't think there's any reason we should regress, honestly.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea when Mailata is going to come back? I know, and then the Lane injury. I know he was in and out in the last game.
Well, Lane hasn't even been on the injury report this week, as far as I'm aware. So Lane's not in any danger of not playing. I think he just got rolled up on it, hurt for a minute, and then he got back out there, and it was all fine.
Hey, sometimes it's just adrenaline takes over. I didn't see him on an injury report later. I just didn't know if you saw anything.
No, I haven't heard anything about it, so I think that's good news to not be hearing anything.
It's fantastic.
Mailata, from what I heard, I think it really just depends with Mailata. It's a hamstring injury. We know plenty about hamstring injuries. Sometimes it could be 2 weeks. Sometimes it could be 10. You really never know. But I think from what I saw, it's probably like a 4 to 6 week thing. But still up in the air. So I don't know too much about it. But at the same time, I don't really mind with how well Fred Johnson's been stepping in. So
he has been.
Fred Johnson has been stellar. I mean, he's not somebody that I have to watch and be like, oh, man, like this guy's going up against Fred Johnson. I'm going to have to watch that all game. Like, no, he steps in and he does his job.
Against an elite pass rusher in the league, too, and Trey Henderson. It's kind of the underrated. I mean, we've been so, like, kind of just ungrateful. I'm not going to use the word ungrateful because that's not what I'm trying to get at. But as Eagles fans, just having this type of line where it's just like, oh, well.
We're just good. Yeah, like we don't got to worry about it. And,
it's like, oh, nice.
When you can even lose guys and go into the depth and still be that same O-line, it's really, really impressive. And I think that a guy like Fred Johnson has earned himself a starting spot going into next year, whether it's with us or with another team. Yeah. Now, I do hope it's with us because I don't know how much longer Lane is going to last. And I wouldn't mind him being Lane's replacement, to be completely honest with you. He's only 27 years old.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. And it's only week 9 now, so we're not going to talk about that right now. But yeah, no,
exactly. I'm just throwing that out there that it's like he's doing that good that he deserves to be a starting tackle in this league.
Yeah, I don't want Jack Driscoll as his replacement, that's for sure. And
yeah,
he's not even. But the thing is, Jack Driscoll's not even that bad. He's not bad. He's just not good. He's fine.
I mean, he's that exact guy that I was just talking about, where when he comes into the game, you're like, oh boy, I might have to watch a few plays to see how he's doing.
Yeah.
Like where you just look at the left tackle or the right tackle or whatever, you know what I mean?
I always noted on him. It's kind of mean, honestly, but regardless, what type of score you got in this game, and do you think it's gonna be high scoring? Do you think they stop us at all? What score do you got going into this Sunday afternoon?
Well, we still haven't scored in the first quarter, so I can't exactly go out here and say that they're not going to stop us at all. But their defense lets up almost 400 yards a game, and with the way we've been playing lately, with this offense clicking, it's going to be really hard for them to not let up a lot of points. So I'm going to say 34-17. Was that the same? No, we just won 37-17, but I think it's going to be a very similar looking game.
Do you think that we score in the first quarter in this game?
I sure hope so. I haven't been given reason to believe they will, but I don't really care. I know a lot of people are caught up on the fact that they do that. I'm kind of just in the mindset that these guys take a minute to get rolling. You know, I'm not really concerned with it because it hasn't come back to bite us. Yeah,
no, I mean, last game I couldn't blame them because the Bengals offense was on the field.
I mean, taking a 10-minute drive, you can't really do much with that. Not to mention, we did run down the field and score on that on our first drive.
Yeah, you got a field goal, but it was just like, wow. I was like, wow, this game's going quick.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go somewhere very similar. I'm gonna go 21-31. I think we just been playing too well not to say it's a double-digit score. I think it's gonna be something where they get it's going to be where we're just up most of the game and they get little garbage time stuff at the end. I don't see this Jaguars team beating us. I know
I hate to say it for the Jags, but this is a team that's not only been bad all year, but is riddled with injuries now too. They don't have most of their starting weapons. Their running back game has looked out of sync the entire year. They're still trying to decide who their top back is. So I'm not really particularly scared of their running attack. And they're missing. Are you even sure that Gabe Davis is playing? I'm not even 100% sure
he's questionable. He might not be playing. I would just saw earlier.
So there's a legitimate chance you're not going to see any 3 of their starting receivers out on the field on Sunday.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to think that they're going to be a better offense against us than the Bengals were. You know what I mean? So I think there's a chance they might not even score a touchdown. But that's obviously a little bit getting a little too optimistic thinking with the way that we've been playing lately. It's easy. I feel like it's easy to get caught up in the lights and how well we've been doing in the past few games, but it's still a long, long season ahead of us. So I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves before, we get our hopes up the way Philly fans do and then bring them right back down. So and I'm not saying that you shouldn't have your hopes up. That's the wrong way of putting it. But we do have a bit of a problem of getting overexcited and over angry about things instead of just having the expectations in the right place. But I will say this team is absolutely reminding me of the 2022 team that we saw make the Super Bowl. They're starting to step into those shoes and seem in a similar aura that team was, both playing wise and just the way that they are cohesive off the field and the way the team interacts with each other and whatnot. The energy feels like it's there. And I'm going to say the same thing about this team if they continue to play the way that they have the past few weeks, as I said about the 2022 team. And that is that there is not a single team in this league that scares me when we're playing our best football. Wow. And I'll stand on that. I said it during the 2022 year. And if we continue to play the way we have the past few weeks, then I don't think that there's any team in the league that we can't beat. I suppose saying I shouldn't be scared of them is the wrong way of putting it, because of course I'm scared of the Lions. Of course I'm scared of the Chiefs. but it doesn't mean I don't think that we can beat them by any means. Like, I think that every team is beatable when we're playing our best football.
I mean, I 100% agree. This team, when they're on, and there's too much talent to go around. That's from every aspect. The only thing my concern a little bit is the regression in this D-line. Just because the last 3 O-lines that we played have not been top 15 O-lines in the league.
Yeah.
That's the only concern I have. I want to see us do it against a good O-line, which we will have the chance to do eventually. But I just need to see a little bit more from. I know. I'm being very nitpicky. My hopes are up.
I feel like everybody has good reason to have their hopes up, and I'm excited for a lot of the games coming forward. I mean, obviously, after this week, I think that we've got the Cowboys, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Let me check on that.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, so we've got the Cowboys coming up, and then we've got the Commanders after that, and then I think we've got the Ravens after that. The Rams and then the Ravens. Those are 4 really fun games that are going to be really interesting to see what this team has in them and see what they're capable of, because all 4 of those teams have a chance to beat us. And if we can play well against all 4 of those teams, then I think that my hopes will be not only there, but through the roof, and I will be yelling Super Bowl all the way.
I mean, even if you look at it, I know Dallas hasn't been the greatest this year, but you're at Dallas, you go home against Washington, and then you're at the Rams and then at Baltimore. Like, you're still like, this is.
Why does it feel like we haven't had any home games
because we haven't
coming up on the schedule?
Because we haven't, and it really doesn't feel like we're going to. But you will be happy to know that 4 out of the last 5 games of the season are at home. So that's why.
I see that.
Whoever made the schedule is a weirdo, and it's been talked about on the radio too. It just feels so weird.
It does feel strange.
We're at home, but we got flexed out of the Sunday night game for the Colts and Vikings. I guess that's a better matchup. Whatever.
It'll be interesting to see how they continue going forward, because we've seen a lot. We've seen a lot of different things from this team. We've seen the good, we've seen the bad, we've seen the great, we've seen the ugly. It's going to be interesting to see if they can stay consistent and keep playing good football. And I think the key is obviously with Jalen leading this team and continuing to hold on to the ball and not turn the ball over. Yeah, I don't think there's any mistake in the fact that there's a correlation between no turnovers and winning games. So,
well, of course, that's if you win a turnover battle, you're definitely more likely to win a game. I know someone said that.
My point being is that do you think the leaf has turned over with Jalen, that he's seeing something different? Because we obviously saw in 2022, Jalen barely turned the ball over at all. Then going into last year, he started to turn the ball over a little bit. Starting the beginning of this year, he's turning the ball over pretty often. Do you think that he's just more comfortable in the way that this offense is moving now? Or do you think that he kind of figured something out in terms of making sure he doesn't turn the ball over?
There was one play when we did try to do like a screen or like a swing pass to Gainwell where he tried to throw it across his body and down the field. Like, the linebacker came and almost picked it off. He kind of just adjusted to that immediately. It seems like everything's clicking in his head to, and finally thrown over the middle of the field. I think that he's going to get his confidence more than ever, especially if he keeps playing well. I think Jalen's going to do great. And I think we said it all year. I think he's a top 10 quarterback. I think he's even top 5 when he plays on his best. I really like Jalen, and I really believe in him. I have no reason not to believe in Jalen as a quarterback. We've seen him be at his best. We've seen him be at MVP level. I know our expectations are MVP or bust, but that's not – we need him to be Jalen and just not manage. I don't want him to do any more, but if he needs to, he will. But I just don't want him to do anything out of his way, especially if we can establish a run, and that's because that's our identity right now.
Exactly.
All right.
So, yeah, with that all being said, thank you guys for tuning into this episode. We appreciate it. If you did enjoy this video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. We always appreciate you guys stopping in and checking on us. If you did enjoy, make sure you come back next week. We'll be talking about the game, talking about the review of the game, and talking about the preview of next week's game against the Cowboys, right? The Cowboys. And you know that one's going to be a fun episode. We love talking about the Cowboys. So make sure you tune back in next week. We appreciate you guys. And thanks for stopping by. Hopefully we come back to you guys with a big win this week. And we will see you guys soon. Go Birds.
Go Birds.